So guys, last week was an amazing week. We caught some trades, had a trade running into about 500 pips in profit and a risk to reward of 1:18. So this new week is going to be an amazing week, and I want to share with you what we're seeing on the charts. Now, before I continue, make sure you subscribe, follow this channel, and like the video and share with others so that they can get to see this. Let's get into it now. So guys, looking at the chart on the weekly chart, we can see the price is still bullish, right? Although we can see a rejection from the last week. But let's also not forget that we just got into a new month. So let's go to a monthly time frame to see what's happening. So we can see that on the monthly time frame, price is very bullish, okay? And another thing we can notice is you see that the last month closed exactly the way the previous month closed, right? So you can see that there was a long week created at the top and a week created at the bottom, and the same thing happened for the last month. So now what I'm going to be expecting in this month, price should continue in the bullish move. That's what we're hoping. So how then do we now enter this market? Now, if price is bullish, we should be looking for mostly buys so that you don't take unnecessary losses. Always go in the direction of the trend. All right, so price is bullish, so we'll be looking for buys. Now what we're going to be looking for is for price to come down to a significant zone where we can now enter. We should be looking for price to come back down to about the 50% level of the previous month, and then from there we could look for buy entries. Now looking at the Fibonacci, we can see that the 50% level is around a key support area that we marked out. This is the 50% level, is around 2698 or 2697, which is close to this support that we marked out here, 2685. All right, so price could come down to that zone, and from there we could be looking for buys. We'll get a good entry and ride the market up. Also, we need to take note of the fact that sometimes price might not get down to the 50% zone. Sometimes price might reject from the 38% zone. All right, 38% zone. So we're going to be looking out for these two zones, especially since we have a support around that same area. As you can see, we're going to go back to the lower time frame and we'll see things clearer. So you can see that we have a support there that we marked out, which is around 2720 level, right, or 21 level, and the 38 level is around 2718. So you can see it's just very close to each other, right? So we're going to be looking for buys from that zone, and also going to be looking for buys from the 50% zone, which is around that 2685 2695 area. So let's go to a lower time frame. So guys, now we're back to the weekly charts. Now looking at the weekly charts, we can still clearly see that price is very bullish. All right, price has been creating higher highs and higher lows, right? And in the previous week, what we can see here now is that price broke up, right? Price broke this previous high of this previous week, broke up, but you can see that price began to drop. So the previous week closed quite bearish, right? It showed that sellers were quite strong and refused for buyers to close this week very bullish. Price closed very bearish, but you can see that the candle is still green. All right, so what should we expect? Like I said, we are looking for buys because market is still bullish. As much as we can see this rejection from the previous weeks, we should still be looking for buys. So what I'm expecting that might happen in this week is a little bit of a consolidation. So we might see price come down to this 2720 zone, all right, or even a little bit lower, or might even come to 2685, but majorly 2720 zone. That's the first place we're looking at. So price might get there and then bounce up back and go back up to 2758 area, right, and come back down again. So we might see that kind of a movement. We might see consolidation around that zone. So this is the daily. Now, because of the rejection that we saw on the weekly, right, people might begin to think that gold is now beginning to drop. Gold has changed its trend. Gold is still bullish. Until we see a clear change of structure, then we can now say that gold might be considering to change its trend, right? But gold is still very much bullish. So looking at the daily, like we can see here, as long as gold has not broken this particular low, we can still maintain that gold is bullish. In fact, I would say until gold breaks this particular low, 2604, then we can really consider gold to now become bearish, not even the zone. But still, like we said, we're looking for buys from 2620 zone or 2685 zone. All right, those are the areas we're going to be looking for buys. from. Now, immediately as the week opens, price could just immediately start dropping to 2720, and from there begin to push up to 2758, and then might drop again. All right. And if price drops and even breaks this point, like I said, we're going to be looking for buys from 2685, and as you can see, this might line up well with this trend line that we have over here. And as you can see, this is a support area too as well. All right. So let's go to a lower time frame. So looking at the 4-hour now, you can see that price is still bullish, but we can sort of see a heads and shoulders pattern, right? So if you look closely, you see that there's a head and shoulders pattern that seems to be forming. This can be considered the left shoulder, this can be considered the head, and this area can be considered the right shoulder. So price now, this can be considered as the neckline. All right, so price now is looking like it's forming a heads and shoulders pattern, right? But like I said, price is still very much bullish. So remember, we don't determine what price does. We are not the ones to decide what happens to price. Price does what it wants to do. What we do is we use the information given to us on the charts to come up with different probabilities of what could happen. And so we are preparing ourselves ahead of time for what price could do. So once we see price coming down or coming into our zones, we are prepared already, and we now know what we are looking for. And so the moment price begins to give us the confirmation that we need, because we don't get in on a trade blindly, the moment price begins to give us the confirmation that we need, then we get in on the trade. For instance, now we said you should be looking for buys from 2720 or 2685. That doesn't mean that the moment price gets there, you just jump on the market and then just go in for a buy. Where would you put your stops? How would you manage the trade, right? So you need to wait for certain rejections and to be able to determine whether or not that entry at that moment is actually a valid entry, so you don't just take unnecessary losses. All right, so this is what we're going to be looking out for. So like we said, we can see a heads and shoulder pattern that seems to be forming, but still price is very bullish. Now if this heads and shoulder pattern actually holds, then it's possible that price would actually break lower, and price might actually come down to the zone. All right, and that's not bad. From there we can now look for buys. So looking at this, we could say that this area is the neckline, right, for price to break. So if price breaks this and this area doesn't hold, price might give us something of this nature and come down to the zone, right? And if price comes down to 2685, then we could look for buys from here, right? We could look for buys from here. But also take note, price could also as well bounce from here. Price could also, like I said, price could also bounce from here. All right, so it's all about us just watching the market and looking out for those confirmations, right? Never jumping on a trade blindly. Never jumping on a trade blindly. So this is just what we're going to be looking out for, guys. So like I also said, price could go to 2758 or above and then begin to give us rejections from that zone, and then price might begin to drop also from that zone. So just because I'm saying that, oh, we should be looking for buys, doesn't mean that we might not be able to catch the sells. All right, so guys, you can see this is the 1 hour time frame, and as you can see now, you can see things clearer now. Like I said, we're not certain of what price would do. All we need to do is observe the market and keep a close eye on it. And once an opportunity is presented to us, we're going to jump on the opportunity. The whole conclusion of everything is that we can look for buys from 272 to 720, or probably just wait for price to come down a little bit lower to around 2708 or 2695 or 2685. So around those zones, those are the areas we're going to be looking for buys from, around those zones. All right, so guys, that's it. And like always, we've been giving very, very spot on analysis. Last week was an amazing week. We're able to catch certain trades. This week, let's see what we're gonna get. So guys, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like the video, share with others. We're trying to see how we can get to at least 500, and once we get to 500, let's see how it goes. Peace out, guys. Success to your trading.